So maybe I just start by saying a few words about this globalization accelerated challenge. When I say accelerated, we know very well that the key cleavage, the key turning point was 10 years ago when iPhone, smartphone, and all the big inventions that started to change our life, and of course 10 years ago, but now the distribution and the spread of all these new tools are changing the way in which we work. We know very well that economy is changing, shared economy, education is changing. It's very complicated to lead a course saying something that is not completely checked, because you have always a student raising hand and saying, but sorry, in my iPhone I can check that is not exactly 73 billions, but is 82 billions. And you are immediately shocked, and your authoritativeness is declining very fast. But also it is politics that is completely shaken because of the new tools, how fast the change is arriving, how fast the change is moving. And when I say politics, I say all the activities that we gather together. I think maybe the easiest example is just how a camp like that can work, and how the big change and the big impulse, I would say, of the new technologies is able to change an activity like that. Carlo invited me. I'm very pleased to be here. I would say 5 years ago or 10 years ago, he invited me. I was here to run the same campus. Then he asked me to say something, a lecture. I did so, but maybe I started to say something that was not completely in the previous aim of the invitation. So people in the room started to think, but it was not the aim of this campus. And at the end of the speech, maybe someone said, sorry, it was not what we wanted to have here, and then started to discuss with the others by saying that, but maybe it was not our goal. It was a little bit strange what Enrico said here. And then some exchange of mails, and some weeks later, Carlo told me, sorry, next time when you come, I would like to ask you to change a little bit. It's necessary to have a different approach. And then now I talk, and I'm sure that someone here in the room at the same time is starting to write something, and to write something while listening what I'm saying. And the creation of a thought, personal, then collective thought, is happening without anyone saying any word or disturbing the rest of the activity of the others. And on the corner there, maybe someone is saying, how boring is this lecture this morning? And someone else is saying, yes, you're right. But nobody is telling anything. So in silence, without disturbing. And Carlo maybe is opening his iPhone and is checking the reaction, the silent reaction of the audience, and maybe Carlo can write a very ancient piece of paper, and leaving me the idea with this piece of paper to change a little bit. And maybe during my speech I can change, I can move, I can modify. So live, immediately, not waiting for the next year or for the next lecture. I can adjust. And I can change because of your reactions, because of you, because what you are thinking without any discourse, any interaction, but just writing something and creating this general. Think about this point. It is a huge change in terms of rapidity, in terms of how fast the change arrives. And think about the application of this very, very easy, and sorry for how poor was this example, the application of this example in politics, in education, economy, is really a revolution. Everything is starting to happen immediately. And this is why I say the globalization accelerated challenge is something that is completely shocking our lives, our societies, and we have to adapt. There's an immediate link with cities. I'm sure that someone is able immediately to check what I'm saying. Please open the page of the Brexit vote, the map of the Brexit vote, because I think it's very interesting for what I'm trying to say. You know very well that the big divide in the Brexit map vote is the divide between cities and countryside. So if you take the vote of England, leave the rest, leave Scotland, leave Wales, but take England, and you have a vote that is very clear in which the divide is between countryside and big cities. Big cities, of course, against Brexit, and countryside in favor of Brexit. And among the small cities, 2 small cities against Brexit, and the other more in favor of the 2 against Brexit, Oxford and Cambridge. I think not by chance. It is not only England. Last year, vote for the presidential elections in France had exactly the same result. In the first turn, Macron had almost double of the votes he get at the entire French level in Paris. And the vote in Paris of Marine Le Pen was 6% instead of 22% of the total. 6%, and this 6% only in the banlieue. 1% in the center, or in the 16th, or in the 5th, or in the 6th arrondissement. If we take the vote in the US, I think the difference between the 2 costs and the middle of the US is saying exactly the same thing. And I think we can have the same approach also for many countries. I think there's a fantastic book. I don't know, Carlo, if you want to translate, or if you already decided to translate it into Italian. David Goodhart, The Road to Somewhere, is a book that Goodhart wrote after Brexit. He created these 2 groups of people. One group is the people of somewhere, the other group is the people of anywhere. Saying that the big problem in our societies today is this cleavage that is related to the application of the tools of globalization, and also the skills. People of somewhere is people not speaking any language. People of anywhere is people used to speak many languages, used to work in another country, with a good will to work, to travel, and not to live all life in the same place when he was born. That is a big divide, and this big divide for David Goodhart was the reason of this very strange organization of the vote for Brexit. I think this is maybe the key point. And the other cleavage related to globalization is related to the link and the approach to technological progress. There are many studies saying that there's an approach, the elite people, I would say the anywhere people, with a positive approach to technological progress. Normal people scared about the idea of what technological progress is meaning in terms of loss of jobs, in terms of loss of certainties. This society that was built up in the past with steps one by one, and that is now so complicated to forecast for your future, the future of your family, and the organization of your personal, even your personal career. So this subject is immediately and strictly related, we are in Milan, to the European subject. Europe today is perceived as a huge problem, as one of the tools of a cold globalization process. And so Europe is perceived as is very good for all the people of anywhere, but is very bad for many of the representatives, I would say, of people of somewhere, perceived as the European Union is the tool of this integration in which everything is together without any possibility to help and to help people in, I would say, left behind. It is a new term that we usually use. This Italian new Euroscepticism, that is for me one of the most important, and of course I'm scared, but the key issue to understand what is changing in our country is this change between the position. Italy was the more pro-European country in 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, since the beginning. And today in all the polls, Italy is at the very, I would say, between Czech Republic, Poland, and not so far from the UK leaving because of the anti-European mood. And this new Euroscepticism is related also to this idea of a big cleavage in our society, and this big cleavage is related and is not only a general cleavage, is linked to this complicated issue between somewhere, anywhere. There's a cleavage of this kind of topics that is within cities. It is not only within countries, but within cities. It is clear that creativity is playing a great role. Milan today is taking the leadership on some of these issues. Creativity is a way to attract, but not only creativity. The attractiveness of the city, of a city, is also a question of services, a question of possibility to allow people to live and to live at certain level. So I think this first big cleavage maybe is for what I think is the most important cleavage, is a challenge that is a challenge for politicians first, for those who are responsible at European, at national, at city level, because how to close this gap. We can't continue ignoring the fact that this gap will destroy our societies. How to close this gap, how to work, because it is absolutely necessary to avoid to be the day after the elections suddenly shocked by results that we never expected before, because we didn't see what happened in the very core of the society. I'm among those thinking that the voters, they're always right. Always. I think is the definition of democracy. If I start to say that voters are completely stupid people, I have to change completely not only work but mind, because democracy means that you trust the collective wise approach of the voters. So the key point is how to close this gap, how to work within cities. The gap is, of course, there's a strong gap between banlieue and center of the cities. Is an enormous gap and is strictly related to this point.